the last 3 years, San Antonio is ranked in the top 5 of the fastest growing cities in America, adding tens of thousands of new residents from all over the country. So a big question is, why is one of America's fastest growing cities still one of the most affordable? So I have lived in San Antonio my entire life, and I have seen it change drastically over the years. And today we're going to talk about why people are moving here, whether or not they're actually leaving and why that might be, and what does all of this mean for you if you are thinking of moving to this wonderful city. First off, let's start with how many people actually came here. So between 23 and 24, you had a total of about 24,000 people that moved to San Antonio. So overall, San Antonio currently sits at around 1.5 million residents, and the entire metro area, you're looking at 2.8 million people. In fact, between April of 2020 and July of 2024, the metro added nearly 205,000 people. And about 59% of that, which is around 121,000 people, came directly from domestic migration. Now that's people choosing to pack up their lives and move from other areas of the country to come here to San Antonio. We're going to talk about why this is important here in just a minute. Now, I do have to say this, growth is slowing down a little bit. You look at the overall numbers from the pandemic boom, and you can specifically look at Texas. Texas added a total of about 391,000 new residents in 2025, which is actually its slowest growth rate since 2021. So things are normalizing a bit. When you look at San Antonio specifically, in 2023, we were the #1 city in adding the most new residents out of every city in the country. 2024, we were number 4. And actually, in 2025, very similar numbers, we were at number 5. However, I think that's just looking at the overall landscape of things and how growth and how the economy has shifted. But one big benefit of what San Antonio is seeing is that the employment growth here is actually outpacing both Texas and the national numbers as of late 2025. So although we are slowing down from our peak, we are still growing at a very, very high level, especially when you look at the numbers compared to everywhere else in the country. So one big question I get a lot is, where are all these people coming from? Predominantly, you see a lot from the West Coast. That's where most of the people that are moving to Texas are coming from. They're coming from places like California, Oregon, Washington, the Pacific Northwest, where it's cold and dreary. They want a little bit more warmer, sunnier, less wet area. And who's to say that Texas isn't a little bit dry at times, that's for sure. But you also got the affordability and the tax structure here that is much more beneficial in a lot of ways compared to those other places. And a very specific one for San Antonio, which a lot of people maybe, especially if you're from out of state, may not realize, is that there are a ton of people moving to San Antonio from Austin. One of San Antonio's biggest plays has been for a while, and why a lot of people come from all these other places, is its affordability. You look at the median price point in a place like Austin. In 2022 at the peak, it was up in the $600,000 price range, and now it's come down a decent amount since then, and it's now in the 500s. But you look at San Antonio, and we're at around the upper 200s as far as the median price point in the entire market. And personally, I know a ton of people that have considered both Austin and San Antonio, and after looking at both, especially looking at the price points in Austin and what you can get comparably in San Antonio, even for a luxury property in San Antonio in those $700,000+ price ranges. You try to look at that in Austin, it's a very, very drastic difference. Whereas you can get a house that's a custom home on an acre in hill country in the New Braunfels, Bernie, Bulverde area, North San Antonio. You look at Austin and you're still looking at, subdivisions for that same price point for the same type of home. So it's a very big difference in not only the prices itself, but what that prices actually get you, even looking at the higher price point homes. And so there's a ton of people that obviously are moving from out of state, coming here, and whether they're retiring or just looking for a better lifestyle, they end up selecting San Antonio for a variety of different reasons. Now, speaking of people making a move to San Antonio, if you are considering that at all, if you have any questions whatsoever, we would love to have a conversation with you. My name is Michael McCall. I run the Life and SATX home group here in San Antonio. We're a small group of highly motivated, highly dedicated individuals, specifically dedicated to helping people just like you make their move here to San Antonio. So would love for you guys to schedule a call at that Calendly link in the description below. You can connect with with one of us directly. We have tons of experience, have lived here our entire lives. We know this area like the back of our hands, and we would love to be able to help figure out what it is exactly that you could do to make San Antonio or anywhere in the Central Texas area your home. Now let's get into a little more specifics about why all these people are choosing San Antonio over other places. As we've already mentioned, affordability is a core facet of that specific reasoning. So San Antonio as a whole is about 9% below the national average when it comes to cost of living. But the big ticket is the housing difference. So we are about 21%, 1/5 below the national average on housing affordability. You're getting that same Texas lifestyle, that same tax-friendly structure with no state income tax at a fraction of the cost of the other big places in Texas that you could choose from, specifically Austin, Dallas, and Houston. For those of you coming from places like California that have a state income tax of somewhere in the range of like 13%, I think, it's just a massive difference in what you could have coming here. Now, although we do not have the highest paying jobs compared to a place like California, because in California you have to have a high paying job to be able to actually live there, the jobs here in San Antonio are growing very sustainably and at a very, very good level as well. San Antonio is home to Joint Base San Antonio. We are Military City, USA, so military is a huge presence here in San Antonio. So just with military, you're looking at over 67,000 direct jobs due to military, and you're looking at over $55 billion in economic impact to the state of Texas from what is happening in San Antonio. And because it's military, it's not like they're going and laying off half the military like they do in the tech world occasionally. So it's a very, very stable economy as our core industry. But looking into the tech side of things, one facet of the military that is growing drastically is cybersecurity. And San Antonio is actually a cybersecurity hub compared to basically everywhere else in the country. And in fact, San Antonio has the second largest cybersecurity presence outside of Washington, D.C., making it basically cybersecurity USA too. There are over 100 cybersecurity organizations in San Antonio, 40 separate headquarters, and the largest concentration of federal cyber workers outside of Washington, D.C. In fact, in 2025, Governor Greg Abbott signed a $135 million legislation for state funds to go to UTSA and make it the Texas Cyber Command Center, which is going to be huge for the future growth of UTSA, but also more and more headquarters and more companies that are in this field as this field is growing drastically to come to San Antonio. Fort San Antonio is kind of like San Antonio's tech hub. It's the former Kelly Air Force Base. It has actually generated over $10 billion in economic activity for Texas just in 2024 alone. Of course, data centers are a kind of a hot button item right now as far as their development. But you look at Microsoft, and they have been working on a $400 million data center out on the west side of San Antonio for the last couple years now. So the infrastructure growth for this field is growing as well. Outside of employment, you look at the quality of life that San Antonio brings. We have 220 sunny days per year, mild winters that basically last about a month, quite honestly. I mean, a lot of times we get, a cold snap where it'll be super cold. It'll be in freezing temperatures for a couple weeks. And then before that, it was 70s, 80s. And then after that, it's 70s, 80s. So we basically have, 11 months of, spring/summer, and then a month of winter, if you really look at it. A lot of San Antonio's best attractions are outdoor focused because of this. Of course, you have the Riverwalk, which is a 15-mile stretch through our downtown of restaurants and shopping and entertainment and everything that you can imagine. You got the Pearl District, which is basically just a big open air, courtyard area with tons of other things mixed in with restaurants, entertainment, shopping as well. Some high-end hospitality places such as the Hotel Emma. San Antonio has a vibrant culture, and although a lot of people might argue with this, we kind of self-style ourselves as the culinary capital of Texas, and we do have a very prominent food scene here. Although you may see a little bit more attention given to places like Austin, San Antonio is very, very well regarded in that aspect. You've also got the San Antonio Missions, which is the state of Texas's only UNESCO World Heritage Site, with 5 18th century Spanish colonial missions scattered along the San Antonio River. Our culture is really what had us growing from the very beginning. I mean, there was no major port like Houston that could bring a ton of people in. There was no major corporate revolution or industrial revolution that happened here. We were very culture centric. We really focused on our roots and kind of grew slowly but surely over the years as we continue to do today. And obviously that shaped the city into something very different than what you see in Dallas and Austin. So what exactly does all this mean for the real estate market in San Antonio right now? And is it actually driving people away? So as of early 2026, we are looking at a median price point around $290,000, which makes it one of the most affordable big metro in the entire state of Texas. And we're actually in a slight increase year over year whenever you look at the overall numbers. Overall listings are up about 11%. So we are seeing an increase in inventory. We're seeing more and more people that are starting to try to make that move. More and more people have been trying to sell their houses, and a lot of them still kind of have that pandemic pricing in their mind, and they're not really pricing the things the way that they need to. Homes are also sitting on the market longer, looking at 90 to 100 days. So, a little bit longer on the lifespan of what you could typically see for a home being sold. A lot of that does have to do with a lot of people still going towards those new construction homes. The builders are still giving very strong incentives, buying down interest rates in this very volatile market that we're in right now. With rates going up, coming down, going up, coming down. I mean, there's really no consistency in anything yet. And so it's kind of making things a little bit uneasy for a lot of buyers. But you look at the new construction, and the new construction has still been relatively strong, especially in that kind of, median to, basically $300,000 to kind of $500,000 price point. When you get away from the new construction, the more established, higher, slightly higher end communities are still selling very strongly. You look at Stone Oak as a prime example of that. I just recently had a home sell in less than 24 hours with 3 offers on it. In that neighborhood, you've got places like Chavano Park, where if the home is listed, if it's priced good, if it's got the updates and kind of well taken care of, and more turnkey, they're selling very, very quickly. Same thing with that Alamo Heights area. Those areas are all still very, very strong, and the market is showing that there are still a lot of people that are looking at buying homes in the San Antonio market, regardless of what you're seeing outside of here and the kind of national media with the real estate market kind of softening currently. There's been also a lot of hype about a lot of the growth and things that are coming to San Antonio. We've talked about the south side and development surrounding that A&M San Antonio area. We've talked about the huge projects that are coming to downtown San Antonio with Project Marvel, which just in November of 2025 got the voters' approval for a $1.3 billion supplement to get that all started with a new Spurs arena. In fact, that's a 15 to 20 year long project, which will include an updated convention center, hopefully a really cool land bridge that's going to connect downtown to the Alamo Dome, and just overall, a couple decades worth of changes that are really going to transform San Antonio completely. I do have a whole video about this project that I'll link in the description if you haven't seen it yet. Now, getting back to that question I already mentioned once, are people actually leaving San Antonio? We got a ton of people coming here. How many people come here, decide they absolutely hate it, and decide that they are going to leave? Well, let me speak to my personal experience here. You obviously have plenty of people that are coming here that are getting PCS'd and, coming here from the military, and then they're leaving, right? Getting shipped off elsewhere. You've got people that are relocating for work, okay? The people that I've worked with, which have been hundreds over the years, that are relocating here from out of state, not just for work, but also because they are choosing to move to San Antonio because of the lifestyle that it provides. I can think of maybe less than 5 that have moved here and then left after they moved here because they didn't like something about it. Whether it was the weather, whether it was the way the town is situated or the opportunities. I mean, I'm serious. Less than 5 that of my past clients that have moved here and then left because they just weren't feeling it. They didn't like it. It is something that is very, very unique and has kind of surprised me, quite frankly, because especially coming from places like California, where the weather is phenomenal, where you have 70-degree days almost year round, where you come here and it can be 105 for a month and a half, 2 months at a time, or it can, be very dry and it doesn't rain for months at a time, right? It's a very stark difference, but the fact that people come here and choose to stay here says a lot about, I think, the quality of the city that we do have in San Antonio. Like I mentioned, I help tons of people move here, okay? Let me talk about who San Antonio is right for. Obviously military, whenever you're looking at San Antonio, because of the military presence, tons of people moving in and out. You have tons of people just like you that have gone through the same life situations that you have, whether it was being deployed, whether it was, being shipped all over the world, whether it was the struggles that our, military go through every single day, and, the worries that their families constantly have. There are tons of people that can resonate with that, and that you can find communities in just about anywhere in the San Antonio metro. Not only that, the medical centers here, whether it's the South Texas Medical Center over that northwest side, or whether it's the VA hospitals that can provide you as a veteran the care that you need. For those that are retiring, even if you're not military, looking at being close to hospitals and being within an area that is very prominent for their medical care. San Antonio still has that big city, small town feel where, although we are a very large city by the numbers, looking at, I think we're at the sixth highest population in the entire country for a city in San Antonio, but it is very spread out. It does not feel like those places like Austin or Dallas or downtown Houston when you're driving through. And then plus, you look at the schools too. I mean, we have some very highly rated school districts all around the San Antonio metro. You look at Comal ISD, Bernie ISD, Alamo Heights ISD, Northside ISD, Northeast ISD, Lavernia ISD for those small town people that want to find something small. I mean, there's so many different school districts that are very highly rated and can provide great opportunities for your kids. And then, of course, you can't talk about why you should move to San Antonio and who's San Antonio is best suited for without talking about the remote workers, especially if you are still doing a high-paying remote work job where you can buy a super affordable house compared to what you can get in other parts of the country, while still being very close to a international airport that can get you wherever you need to go if you travel quite a bit for work. So now, one last time, guys, again, if you are thinking of moving here at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, you can schedule that call directly with us, but if you just have questions and you want to just talk to somebody, call, text, email us anytime, days, nights, or weekends, guys. Again, myself and my team, we know this place like the back of our hand. We absolutely love it here, and we can guide you exactly in that direction that you need to go for making your move here. Again, I've lived here my entire life. Very data analytical focused person, and so I could talk to you about all the kind of specifics of what your best option might be to make San Antonio your next home. And if you do want to find out more about the San Antonio suburbs, take a look at this video right here, break down a lot of them, and kind of talk about the best spots for 2026 and beyond. And until the next one, guys, we'll see you there.